How's it going, people? Sam Slappy here, and this is Runescape lore, where we talk about the history and kind of like the main named NPCs in the game. So today we're going to be looking at Lord Iban. Now, some of you may know Lord Iban, some of you maybe not. Basically, Lord Iban, you come across him whilst doing the quest Underground Pass, and this is part of the Elven quest. So yeah, figured I'd be doing this since the Elven city's coming soon. So yeah, covering the Elvens for a little bit. So starting off with Lord Iban then. Well, Iban was a former Kinshra knight and self-proclaimed son of Zamorak, and he was killed in battle, but was later on resurrected by a witch by the name of Cardia. And it was from that point onward that he ruled over the Underground Pass until he was finally slain once again. Not much is actually known about Iban's early life though, apart from being a well-educated noble and enjoying the finer things in life. He, supposedly at some point, joined the Kinshra. Now the Kinshra is a Zamorakian knight order operating in Asgarnia. They're commonly known as the Black Knights. And it was here that he was trained under Docarius Renard, the lord of the Kinshra at the time. Iban himself was said to be a very skilled swordsman, and he was one of their most valuable knights, being said to have personally slain hundreds of white knights. Iban as well was additionally very ambitious, supposedly having great plans. This we know from the Tale of Iban, and it actually describes him as follows. This hunger for more went past the realm of mere mortals, into the shadowy places of darkness and evil. Iban's ambition was almost godlike in its insatiability, but therein lay the essence of his darkness. As its most base, Iban's fundamental desire was to control the hearts and minds of his fellow men, to take them beyond the pale of mere allegiance, and corrupt them into a force of evil. A whole legion of these soulless beings, their minds demented from the sheer power of darkness that channeled through them. Zombies, void of emotions, without feelings or cares, servants to their wicked master, even unto death. His ambition, however, didn't come to pass, as in the last battle at some point, the White Knights launched a massive attack intended to capture Iban alive, realizing the size that Iban actually posed to them as a threat. This fight was led by Sir Amic Vaz, and they demanded that he turn himself in. Iban, as you'd expect, refused to yield, and the overconfident Sir Amic Vaz proceeded to order a charge, beginning a battle that would later become known as the Dawn Ascent. In spite of their valour, Iban managed to slay numerous opponents that day, and it is actually likely that he would have vanquished that entire army, if not for one knight by the name of Sir Owen Sond. Sir Owen could not stand seeing his brethren fall in battle, and thus, ignoring his commanding officer, and the White Knight's code of chivalry, he absconded from the battlefield and sought a vantage point on top of a hill. It was here that Sir Owen took out his bow and aimed for Iban, and in turn fired an arrow which pierced the Dark Knight's skull, killing him on impact. But this act was not looked on favourably by the White Knights, even though this single act allowed them to actually win this battle. Soon afterwards though, after Iban was eventually killed by Owen's fine shot from the top of the hill, an evil and dark-hearted witch by the name of Cardia found Iban's lifeless corpse, and decided to resurrect him. This was so that he could fill his wish of leading an army of undead. To do this, she proceeded with a ritual that would render her able to revive the fallen knight. First, she took some of Iban's flesh from his body and smeared it out on a doll bearing his likeness. She needed Iban's blood next, but it had long seeped away from his body. So, to get around this, Cardia travelled to the Underground Pass, a huge and dangerous system of caverns going underneath the Galabas Mountains. This tunnel was connecting the forests of Izaftar to Western Ardome, and it was here that she found a colony of gigantic yellow spiders led by Kelrag, known to devour humans. She killed one such spider and used its blood for Iban's doll instead. For the essence of life itself, Cardia performed the ancient dark rituals of Incantia, which nearly killed her. However, after some time she did manage to recover, and in turn found 3 demons, Halcyon, Doomion, and Othanian, and she found them focusing their energy on the doll, and she realised she had actually bound them to him forever as guardians of Iban's shadow. For the final part of this ritual though, she did need to provide Iban with a conscience. This was to prevent him from becoming a mindless zombie. In Cardia's own words, locked inside an old wooden cage sat a beautiful white dove, a symbol of peace, freedom, and hope, but also the obliviousness to darkness of the world, like a newborn child. Taking the dove with me, I cradled the thing in my arms, stroking its soft downy feathers. I looked into the eyes of the bird, and gently placed a kiss upon its fragile head. I then strangled the bird, taking its life between my callous fingers. Truly, this bird would be the conscience of Iban, innocence corrupted by evil. Thus, Iban was resurrected in the year 168, and took up residence in his own temple in the underground pass, the ritual being the only thing that could possibly banish him. Iban soon proclaimed himself to be the son of Zamorak at this point, and soon turned the pass into a realm of terror. He soon gained fame as a crazy lunatic, according to King Lathus, who had made the pass impossible to cross. The well of voyage which resided within the underground pass, which would normally teleport one to his after, had also been corrupted by him, having become the Well of the Damned instead, a direct gateway to the realm where Zamorak had been banished to after the Gillinorian God Wars. According to Gwir, an Elven scribe, Iban is known even to the Elvens, and even the elves themselves dare not enter the underground pass, following the losses they had suffered there in times of old. At some point while he was reigning over this area, he gained followers. These followers soon began to worship Iban as his disciples in a cult-like manner. Iban slowly took over the mind of anyone to enter the pass, whispering to them with eerie voices. These voices would come to corrupt all who were brave or foolish enough to enter Iban's domain. A most notable example being the famous adventurer Randus. Iban would lock his victims into cages until their minds would completely succumb to his rule. Then they would join his army of soulless, with no trace of any humanity. Additionally, there are many blessed spiders, such as the one Cardia had killed in the pass, that are described as Iban's pets. Some time after Iban's reign of horror began though, the king of East Ardone, Lathus Ardignus, who was collaborating with the malevolent Iorwerth clan of elves and their Privthinus Death Guard, to return the Dark Lord to the world in return for Lord Iorwerth's aid in the downfall of Lathus's arch-nemesis, King Arthur of Camelot. Soon recruited an adventurer to travel through the underground pass. This adventurer, oblivious to King Lathus's dark plans, was to accompany the guide Koftik, cleanse the pass by defeating Iban, and thus pave the way to Tiranon, where Lathus's brother King Tyrus had been ever since the corruption of the pass prevented his return from a previous campaign. The adventurer and Koftik entered this pass, and were immediately overwhelmed by Iban's dark voices. Nevertheless, they progressed further, and after hours of travelling, reached the Temple of Iban. The Temple of Iban was separated from the cave walls by narrow ledges over a deep chasm. While Koftik had stayed behind, the adventurer entered the hut of Cardia and stole her diary, wherein they found out how to defeat Iban, as well as the doll. As such, they soon defeated Kalrag the giant spider for Iban's blood, searched the cages for Iban's prisoners and for the dove's corpse, cremating the body inside Iban's coffin and retrieving the ashes, and finally obtained Iban's shadow from the demon guardians. They enchanted the doll with it and confronted Iban himself, who, having seemingly given up the way of the warrior, fired various magical spells at them. Nevertheless, they managed to cast the doll of Iban into the Well of the Damned, causing his soul to be destroyed utterly, thus ending his life permanently, and soon causing the temple to collapse. Later, King Laethus and his mages restore the well back to what it was, and the haunting voices soon began to disappear from the pass. Still, the army of the soulless walk around aimlessly, and Iban's cult still continue to patrol this temple. So there you go, people, that is the story of Iban. Kind of interesting, gotta be said. I figured this would be a nice one to cover before I go full on into the Elven storyline, ready for Privthinus. But there we go. Nice little story about Iban, get about his background, and cover the underground pass at the same time. Good times. So until next time, people, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will catch you all later. Have a good one.